Hey everybody, it is Liberty Whispers here. It has been some time since I made a video. A number of weeks, I think maybe 4, 5, I don't know who's counting. Anyway, so yeah, I've been away for a little bit, but the reason's been simply just pragmatic issues. It's not a case of wanting to be away, it's a case of finding time to fit things in. I have been moved as far as I can tell. Although having said this, I'm not really entirely sure what the hell's going on at my workplace, but I have been put back on night shifts because somebody left, like literally just left without telling anyone. They just stopped coming to work one day, and I don't know if it's been officially found out if they've left or not, but anyway, they're gone, and so I've been put in to fill in for night shift duty for the foreseeable future, as far as I know. But as I said, I'm not 100% sure what the hell's going on. But these last couple of weeks I've been back doing nights, and anybody who has worked nocturnal hours will be able to tell you that it kind of rearranges drastically the sort of fragmented puzzle pieces of your day-to-day life somewhat. It's left me pretty tired. Even now at like 2:30 in the afternoon. Sorry, for yawning. After kind of the last couple of days I've just been readjusting to like normal person's hours. So it's weird, like my body and my head are still in a transitional period. It's a very transcendent thing to be doing, but hey, adjustments need to be made, I guess. Other than that, I've had a couple of projects that I've been working on, some of which you may have seen if you are friends with me on Facebook. If you're not, then you can change that if you want to. If you want to be friends and say hi, then you can find a link to my Facebook page on my YouTube page. So, yeah, go click on that and don't be shy. So I've had a few projects going on, working on a bit of music, bit of this, bit of that, and just haven't really got around to doing videos. Although having said that, I have recorded a video. I recorded a roleplay video in my car, which, hang on, bear with me, I know it sounds anonymous and a bit suspicious, but trust me, it's okay, it's all kosher. I'm not kidnapping you, the audience. I recorded a roleplay video in my car after work. The idea was that, you, the listener, viewer, / audience person listening, had been on like a road trip with me, and we were on our way home, and you were sleeping or relaxing. Is basically like an ambient sound / roleplay thing, where essentially I'm just talking to you / me whilst driving home, because I always used to find it quite easy to sleep in cars on road trips. Like driving as a passenger will often make me tired. I don't know why, but it was nice. So I thought, we'll give it a go. I'm working on it at the minute. It is recorded, but I recorded it on my iPod Touch with a little clip-on external mic, and although that has improved the quality, there is a lot of high frequency on it. There's a lot of loud noise, and the levels are going to need to be cleaned up, if they can be. I'm hoping so, because I've recorded it twice now, and I would ideally like to get it up pretty soon, but it's going to need some work and some tweaking and whatnot. And it might go up, it might not. It depends on how bad the So that's just a sample for you. So yeah, I mean, I've had lots going on. I've been meaning to do videos. I did tease a video. I put out a little teaser for something I'm working on. It's one of two bigger videos with more production value that's gonna be scripted, and it's gonna take some time to get done, but I would rather kind of get it right than get it rushed out there. So, you know, it's some interesting stuff on the way and some bits and pieces and whatnot, but I am gonna try and be more consistent and at least do rambles or something every now and then to kind of put more on my channel. But yeah, so the intention's there, trust me. I do want to get stuff done, and I am working on stuff. It's just a matter of time. It's just that roguish devil time. Anyway, speaking of time and seemingly brilliant segues, it is time to kind of get into the main point of this video, which is, as you've guessed by the title, so that was April. It was a rather interesting month for all kinds of reasons, some of which not too pleasant: sinus infections, toothache, etc. Although I did have a nice birthday, that did kind of make up for it. Yeah, it was an interesting month, but I'm not here to kind of sort of break down all the semantics and smaller details of last month. I'm just going to talk to you about some of my favourite films and records from last month, as I have done before in this series that is ongoing. All the information regarding stuff I'm talking about will be down in the description box. I just caught myself pointing down as if I'm actually showing you where it is. This is weird. Although you can't see this, I'm still doing it. I'm still pointing down. Stop. All the information you'll need, like names of films, names of albums and artists, and trailers, and even little sample songs you can find. I'm doing it again. I'm pointing. Will be down in the information box in there. So go look there. I'm so odd sometimes. Anyway, so we'll start with movies, and the first film that came from April that is on my list is Iron Man 3, obviously the third in the series following the Avengers. This film I had anticipation for two reasons. One, because I really like what Marvel Studios have done over the last couple of years with their properties. I like what they're doing, I like the direction that they're going, and the universe that they've created. But I am also a pretty big nerd. I am an avid comic book reader, have been for a number of years, was very much so when I was a child, and then stopped for a while, and then kind of picked it up again when I was a little bit older. So going into Iron Man 3, I had expectancies on two levels. I don't know if you picked that up, but that's my stomach growling. I haven't actually eaten today, which is not good, but anyway, I'm getting totally sidetracked. Yeah, I had two expectancies, and both of them pretty much were met fully. Written and directed by Shane Black, who you may or may not know as the man who brought us Lethal Weapon, The Last Boy Scout, kind of a bunch. He really kind of made a mark in terms of action comedy films from like the mid-80s, 90s, and he was a really good pick because he kind of brought a lot of that sensibility from the style that he essentially created and put it into Iron Man 3. It focuses more on Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark than Iron Man, which I think works well because it adds a more serious tone to the film. I mean, it's not too serious, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but yeah, it takes itself more seriously than its previous incarnations. You know, you kind of get to see how Tony is dealing with the events of the Avengers, which, if you haven't seen, I won't spoil, but he goes through, so he does something which, you know, in reality would kind of mess with anybody's mind, so it kind of taps into that. It's really funny, the dialogue's incredibly sharp and witty. The action is, well, you know, it's good to great, I guess. I don't know why, where that sliding scale of action came from, but the action's great in it. It has a couple of issues with the plot, where it kind of feels a little heavy-handed. There's a few things I may have taken out, and there is a moment in the film which I'm not going to say it's, if you've seen it, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about already when I say there's a moment. But as an appreciator of films, I thought, oh my goodness, that's a stroke of genius. But as kind of like a loyalist comic nerd, I guess a part of me was like, oh my god, what are you doing? No, I didn't want to see this. I want to see... I can't really exactly verbalize it without possibly giving anything away, but anyway, yeah, it's a very decisive moment, and it will divide people, and I'm kind of interested in seeing if you guys have seen it and you know what I'm talking about, what your take on it was. I'm still in two minds about it. On one hand, I think it's genius and it works so well. The other hand, I'm like, oh no, I didn't want that. But anyway, I digress. So Iron Man 3, really fun, really entertaining, great way to spend a couple of hours. The second film is very different in general, and very different to Iron Man 3. It's a little independent film called Upstream Color, which was written, directed, edited, and even had its cinematography done by a man called Shane Carruth. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It should be Shane Carruth. It's probably Carruth, thinking about it. But he did a little film back in 2004 called Primer, which is this really weird, abstract, sort of left-of-field science fiction philosophy film about, you know, identity and changing who you are, changing your future. And Upstream Color is another film that kind of delves into the sense of identity, except rather than focusing on the future, it's kind of looking at the who, what, where, when, why of who you are in the present tense. So it kind of delves into the idea that there are so many factors that make up who we are that we cannot explain, and we cannot know why these things occur or even what these things are. It is an incredibly polarizing film. You will either really love it or you will just scratch your head and switch off and go, not for me, because it has no real sort of linear structure or narrative or plot. It basically follows a young woman called Chris who I don't think this gives away too much, but she swallows a tablet which contains a worm in it, and she is then susceptible to mind control, and she finds herself going through these strange series of events, and then she's left with the aftermath of trying to put her life back together again. And in doing so, she meets someone else who in turn is also trying to kind of figure things out. It is a very weird film. It's a very strange and abstract film, but it's not abstract for the sake of being, ooh, look at me, I'm different, I'm weird, I'm doing strange things. Why? Because I want to do strange things. It actually has a much richer, deeper sense of meaning, and there is a lot of beauty in the film. There's a lot of weird stuff going on that, you know, I can't really kind of go into detail about, because it will spoil it. I mean, basically, the less you know about the film, I guess, the better. But it was really impressive. It really struck a chord with me. Visually, it's beautiful. It is some of the nicest cinematography you could see for such a small budget. Just incredible, just a really incredible film, really empowering film, really challenging film, but a challenging film for all the right reasons. So yeah, I mean, it's different, and you might not like it, you know, it will have a very divided audience, but I loved it, one of my favourite films of the year so far. The other film, the last film that I want to talk about for April is the new film from director Derek Cianfrance, who a couple of years ago made one of my favourite films of 2010 called Blue Valentine, which starred Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams. An utterly bleak and dark film about the dissolving of a relationship, played out at the same time as its story of how that relationship came to be. I'm sorry if you're picking up a strange noise, but someone's banging something outside, and it's kind of loud and annoying. Anyway, I hope that isn't picking up too much. But yeah, Derek Cianfrance's new film, The Place Beyond the Pines, which again stars Ryan Gosling, but this time he plays a motorcycle stunt rider with a travelling circus, who finds out that he is a father from a fling that he had at a town that he stopped in like over a year ago, and rather than carry on with his job at the circus, he kind of settles down to try and become a father, but you know, with no real skills other than like his motorbiking skills and all that kind of stuff that he's got going on. He kind of turns to crime to provide for his son, and then that leads into a much bigger story. At first, because the story does kind of unravel, and that's only a small fragment of the film. I mean, I won't say anymore because again, the less you know about The Place Beyond the Pines, the better, I guess. But whilst watching it, I kind of wasn't really on board terribly with the way that the story kind of develops and unravels and takes a new form. It wasn't until really kind of afterwards that I had time to sit and think about it that I realised kind of just how effective it was and how much it did actually work. Again, another really beautiful film. Derek Cianfrance has this really kind of hazy eye for just camera work and just the kind of visual aesthetic and presentation of film, whether it be in his colour palette or, you know, his choice of scenery, or just overall general style. The way he pieces and puts together a film is really, really impressive and quite visually striking. But also just, I mean, I really like the story and the performances in it are really good. It's very grounded. If Blue Valentine was about kind of like the dissolving and hardships of relationships, then this is very much a testament to the sort of what I perceive, you know, because I can only perceive as I'm not a father, I don't have any children that I know of. Oh, that's a scary thought. What I perceive to be like the hardships and trials that come with being a parent. Kind of dark and brooding, but it's just really good. Everyone involved puts in a really good performance. Ryan Gosling, Eva Mendes, Bradley Cooper, even the younger actors in it as well. Because it follows, it kind of spans over an arc of time. And it develops, as I said, into a much bigger story. But although I kind of wasn't totally won over whilst it was playing, when I had time to kind of sit and think and kind of digest and take it in, that it really kind of began to like ferment in my mind, and I began to kind of see how good the film actually is, and it's pretty brilliant. So yeah, those are your films. Okay, so I have spent 20 minutes on that, and that's just on 3 films. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 albums to talk about. So I'm gonna not skim really not going to go into as much detail. Having said that, I do just have a tendency to sidetrack and digress, so... Anyway, so the first album in the list of 7 is the sophomore album from James Blake, who is a UK-born and based singer-songwriter who is known for like experimental music in terms of electronica and beats, kind of a purveyor of the post-up step scene / future garage scene, whatever you want to label it. His first album, his self-titled debut, was just one of my favourite albums of that year. It was the best way to describe it. It's like futuristic blues. There's a really kind of dark, bruised, sullen feel to that album. But yet it kind of has this digital overcoat to it. This album kind of takes a similar approach, but it kind of feels a bit more robust. It kind of feels a little bit more universally open than the predecessor. It's amazing. It's definitely one of my favourites of the year. Just his blending of sort of analog and acoustic sounds from pianos to sort of beats and bass lines, and just so much good stuff in there. I really liked it. I think he's begun to grow as a songwriter as well. I think musically and lyrically he is developing more and more. Sorry about that, I had to take a quick break to close my window because that banging was just getting so annoying. I can hear it now still through my window, but I think it's not as loud with the window shut, so that is the end of your natural ambience, I'm afraid. Spoiled by the douchebag that keeps banging outside. I don't know what they're banging, but it's annoying and loud. Anyway, so that was Overgrown by James Blake and is a definite recommendation. The second album is the new album from Hval, frontman and founding member of the War on Drugs. His new album is called Wakin on a Pretty Daze, and he is very much like a lo-fi garage rock musician, with some real kind of overtones of psychedelic rock, and his album's a little bit more adventurous, a little bit more spacious. The guitar work is just as crisp as it has been with him before, but it kind of feels a little bit more free-flowing. There's more lightness to the sounds, and it's really kind of got a nice haze over it. It is the perfect album for like lazy summer days, like if you're getting nicer weather or you having warm weather wherever you are, and you just kind of want to take some time to just chill and enjoy the weather. I would definitely recommend this because it just fits perfectly, but I mean it works outside of that as well. It's not just a fitting combination with like warm weather. It's really interesting to see that he is kind of unspooling his music to longer lengths. It's like 7 minutes, 8 minutes long for certain songs now, and he's kind of just generally mutating and changing ideas up in a way that he puts together his pieces. Like his compositional skills actually shine a lot brighter on this record than they have before, and it's just generally a really enjoyable record. The third album is Mosquito by Yes, which kind of seems to have been shrugged off by a lot of people, but I don't know why, because it's really great. I've always been a little bit on the fence with Yes. I loved their first album, and I thought they had so much to offer, and then they kind of just fizzled out. And this album really kind of sees them come back to life in a big fashion. If you've heard the lead single from it, the name of which actually escapes my mind now. That's it. You'll know that they're kind of going for a few different ideas. I mean, the use of that gospel choir on that track is amazing. And it still holds as one of my favourite songs of the year so far. Just a really powerful and impactful single, and to lead the album off with that track, it's kind of ballsy, because it's kind of like saying, yeah, we know this is good, but we've got some other great stuff on here as well. And they do, they're playing with different ideas, different sounds. Some really interesting ideas. There's a song on there called Wedding Song, which rivals a song they did off their debut album called Maps, which you may probably be most familiar with that band. But it kind of rivals Maps for the just sheer sentimentality of it, but it's natural, it doesn't feel forced, and it's a beautiful song, and it's actually really sad in the tone of it. But yeah, they seem to have come back a lot stronger and a lot better on this record, and I, for one, am really loving it. Album number 4 is pretty much the Upstream Color of music right now. It is definitely the musical counterpart to Upstream Color in the sense that this will divide people massively. It will polarize people incredibly. It is the new album, I think it's the 4th full-length album from a Swedish brother and sister duo, The Knife, Karen and Olof Treasure. The album's called Shaking the Habitual, and it is like 90-something minutes of sheer experimental pop joy. The Knife, you may recognize the name as the group that did Heartbeats, or you may know the Jose Gonzalez version of Heartbeats, and they have never really been one to do things in a conventional manner, so the name Shaking the Habitual not only is a perfectly fitting album title, but it's almost like a manifesto for that group's whole career. Even in their poppier moments, they've kind of gone against the grain and done weird stuff, but it's, again, like Upstream Color, it's weird not for the sense and sake of being weird, for just simply being weird. It is, abstract with a purpose. There is a much deeper sense of meaning on the record, and it's a very political record. It's a very kind of gender identity based record, but there's so many interesting and just, granted, crazy sounds on there, but they are really kind of not only pushing their own personal boundaries, but the boundaries of music. There's a lot of unique sounds, there's a lot of field recordings implemented and turned and morphed into sounds. I believe they made a bunch of instruments themselves to play on the record, which kind of reminds me of what Bjork was trying to do with Biophilia a couple of years ago, but didn't really manage to do it. But the idea is there, but the conviction behind this record is just incredible. It's pretty amazing, to be honest. Strange, enigmatic, sort of eclectic sounds, kind of mixing pop, folk, elements of folk, ambience, industrial, electronica, all kinds of stuff going into the mix. It is a wild, crazy ride, but one that is pretty unforgettable. The 5th record is from Iron and Wine, an outfit led by a musician called Sam Beam. Again, I've always kind of been on the fence with Iron and Wine. I've liked some of the stuff that Sam Beam's done with that project. Never really kind of been an avid fan, or kind of really found myself overexcited by anything he's done. But this record is actually really, really good. It's straight forward thinking, enjoyable, kind of Americana / folk pop music, which is a lot lighter in tone than some of his previous records. It kind of feels like he's learning to relax and enjoy himself and enjoy the process of making music. There's some wonderful jazz influences in there, just from instrumental points, but also in the way that he's concocted some of his songs. They feel a little bit more kind of improvised, a bit more freewheeling. Some really catchy hooks, some really, really, really catchy grooves on there. And it's definitely my favourite piece of work from him. that I've heard so far, I kind of feel like it's much more freer, more relaxed, and it kind of just, it moves a bit more with grace, and with poise and a bit more purpose, and I'm really liking it. I forget what the album's actually called. Let me have a look. You can tell how prepared I was for this. Ghost on Ghost, that's the name of the album. Ghost on Ghost by Iron and Wine. Definitely my favourite work from him. Album number 6 was a surprise one that I wasn't actually really aware of until I kind of came across it as a recommendation. I believe it came out last year in Canada. Oh, sweet Canada, how I love you so. It is from a duo called Evening Hymns, and the album is called Spectral Dusk. And it was kind of recorded out in the Canadian wilderness, so there's a lot of like field recordings, a lot of natural sounds. It actually reminds me very much of Bon Iver's first record in that sense, but there's an overlying theme to Spectral Dusk. It was written kind of in the wake of the lead singer, whose name if I can't remember album titles, I'm never going to remember a person's name, but like the lead singer and sort of the chief singer-songwriter of the duo, his father passed from years of fighting cancer, so the album's kind of written as an ode, as a memory, as a reaction to his father's death. But it's a really interesting thing, because you could go very one-dimensional and just go in a very morbid and dark and depressed route, and there are touches of sadness and somber feelings and melancholy for sure on the album, but there's also moments that are very uplifting, and it feels more like a celebration of his father's memory than a kind of mourning of his loss. It's mixed, and I think that's kind of like an accurate representation of how it is to lose somebody that you love very dearly. You know, there is sadness, without doubt there's sadness, but there's also a reflection of happiness and celebration of that person and what they meant to you, and lyrically, thematically, musically, all of that is represented, and it's really kind of a record that takes its time to crawl underneath your skin, but when it gets there, it stays there for quite a while. So yeah, Evening Hymns and the album Spectral Dusk. The last album that I have in my list, again, is another surprise one, another one that kind of came about as a recommendation, and it is another milestone for female musicians in 2013. Don't get me wrong, female musicians are constantly brilliant, and they have a great output, and there are so many talented young women out there, but it just seems that, I don't know, that 2013 has kind of seen the world as a sort of singular entity, or a kind of symbiotic audience, come to realise just how many talented women there are out there creating and making things of value and of worth and of note. And one such woman even, to use the correct term, is Jenny Hval, who is a Norwegian singer-songwriter, and her album Innocence is Kinky. Not only kind of a catchy album title, but it actually works really well with like the thematic nature and the core ideas of the album. This woman just absolutely impressed me to no end with this record. This is her second album, and she is raw, like you read about. She talks about sexuality, about gender identity, about social class structures, hierarchies, identity in general, connections between human beings, but in a really, really raw manner. just don't get. It's amazing. I mean, you see so many sort of young pop singers and like pop starlets being sexy in videos and kind of looking all glamorous and embracing, that side. But it's like she has just come in and just ripped off that top layer and gone, yeah, I can still be sexual. I can still kind of be proud as a woman, but I can do it in a much more real fashion. We can lose the gloss, we can lose the top layer, lose all the sugary coating. This is very real. It can be explicit, it can be raw, it might not be something you will like, and I guarantee there will be people that are put off by her. And just by how honest she is and how much she wears her heart on her sleeve. But I, for one, absolutely love it. I embrace everything that she's doing on this record, in terms of lyrically and in terms of songwriting. But musically, she's also trying some really interesting things, kind of like The Knife. It's an experimental selection of music where it's kind of folksy meets electronic meets ambience, all kinds of interesting and unique things going on here. And even in terms of like vocal performance and delivery, she pushes her voice into odd, strange places that, again, will either have people really liking what she's doing and appreciating the fact that she's kind of challenging conventions and pushing against the rules, or people will just be like, oh yeah, this isn't for me, which I can understand, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everyone should love this, I completely understand, because, there's some weird stuff going on, but, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm weird as well, that I embrace it more openly, I don't know. But Jenny Hval, Innocence is Kinky, definitely one of my favourite records of the year. There's a bunch of stuff in that list that's my favourites, not just for the month but for the year. Some really good stuff musically in April, and May is looking to be just as good. I mean, we're only 8 days in, and already I have 2 albums on my list for this month as well, so it's good stuff, really good stuff. As I said before, information for the films and for the music will be down in the description box. If you yourself have liked some of the stuff I've talked about, let me know. Let's talk about it. And if you have discovered stuff that you like because of me talking about it again, let me know. Or, even more importantly, if you have stuff that you've been loving in the last month that you want to kind of make a note of or recommend, then please do. I am always willing to do suggestions, so just come talk to me, say hi, don't be afraid, and we can talk about cool things like weird Scandinavian music. But yeah, just say hi, and it's nice to have a new video out, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed it, even though it's probably way too long and way too waffly and filled with douchebag neighbours making banging noises. Hopefully you've kind of enjoyed it, and if you haven't, then I'm sorry. There's more stuff on the way that hopefully you will enjoy. So yeah, stick around, and I guess I will speak to you guys later, because I've got to go eat now, because my stomach is rumbling, and that's never a good sign. So, okay, yeah, I'm terrible at ending videos. I'll speak